Well, good afternoon and welcome to Cut to the Chase with Senator Cheif. This is our weekly call-in town hall and radio show, and it's great to be back with you all this week. I'm your state representative, and feel free to call in today. The number is 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. I'm State Senator Amanda Cheif. I'm your weekly radio show host, and I serve you at the state level, which is not to be confused with the federal level in D.C. Whole nother world. I do not go near the swamp. I try to avoid it at every opportunity. But my office is at the state capitol in downtown Richmond, and so I'm not too far from home. I represent the 11th Senatorial District, which includes all of Amelia, all of Colonial Heights, and most of Chesterfield, which is where my family and I live. As many of you know, I co-founded the Transparency Caucus, which has worked in a bipartisan, bicameral way to ensure that committee meetings are streamed and recorded to give constituents greater access to the actual work of the legislature. And for the first time ever, you can actually go online to virginiageneralassembly.gov. And even though we go back in session Tuesday, if you're bored, you're having a hard time sleeping, you too can go to virginiageneralassembly.gov and you can watch all of our lovely committee meetings. So, anyway, it's great to be back today, and I have a very special guest in the studio today. I have our relatively new Chesterfield Police Chief, Jeff Katz. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Senator Cheif.
Very good. So tell the folks how long you've been here and where you came from.
Well, I've been here since January 2nd. Officially, I moved up here on December 21st, but I've been with the Chesterfield County Police Department since January 2nd. And it has been a terrific experience. I actually came from West Palm Beach, Florida, which shocks a lot of people when they...
I'm shaking my head. They can't see this.
Well, I look forward to being one of those people that vacation in Florida, but I lived there for 45 years and very happy to be one of the newer Virginia residents.
Very good. You're trying to get away from the hurricanes, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
That's good. Well, listen, it's great to have you on the show today. And unfortunately... we have something that's been in the news that many of you may have seen. I know Channel 6, we just did an interview with them just a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. But many of you may have seen the story about the Chesterfield Walmart abduction host that is at the Walmart that's at the 900 block of Walmart Way. And the police were called, Chesterfield County Police were called Sunday night to the 900 block of Walmart Way. Just like I said, just after 9 p.m. on Sunday, after several witnesses reported seeing what they believed was a female being abducted. Mm-hmm. And the police released information about the incident and surveillance photos of the female and several of the males involved on Monday. And the police said that the female, who was safe and unharmed, came to the department's Hull Street station Monday evening after seeing herself on the news. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that. It sounds like one of the men involved in the incident was with her, mm-hmm. and she came to the station in her vehicle, which was the vehicle used in the apparent abduction.
Right.
And then y'all went to try to charge her, or let's say not charge her, but charge. No charges were going to be filed after reviewing the incident with the Chesterfield County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, meaning our great Billy Davenport, and you were very troubled. Tell us why you were troubled. What happened?
Well, both I think personally and professionally, you try to look at these things strictly through a professional lens. But I'm a father. I've got a 21-year-old daughter. And when I saw the video of a young lady springing from the trunk of a vehicle and running, looked like she was running for her life, and it was intended to look like she was running for her life, right? When I saw that, my heart sank, and I thought, dear God, I hope we can find her. I hope we can find her in time. We all in the police department were very, very concerned for her and her welfare. And we directed all of our resources in persons crimes to this incident for almost 24 hours.
Wow.
We engaged our federal partners with the FBI and worked with them on enhancing the video and the photographs. We streamed everything out to the media and asked for the public's help. The public was very invested, very concerned. It's one of the things I love about Chesterfield County, by the way.
Yeah.
The residents are just so engaged and so concerned for one another. It's a wonderful community. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we learned within about 24 hours that this was a hoax. Where this is really troubling is we're in the midst of working a homicide of a 19-year-old young man who was gunned down in a car. And our investigative resources were diverted for, like I said, almost 24 hours to try to find this young lady who was, for all intents and purposes, completely and totally safe once this hoax was perpetuated. That was particularly frustrating. So when we did appreciate the fact that they came forward when they did come forward, and it took a lot of courage, and I appreciate that. And they do seem to understand that what they did was dangerous, and what they did was troubling as far as the squandering of public resources. But nevertheless, we run into a couple of challenges. One, we have what is otherwise a forcible felony taking place in a very public place, right? So you have to wonder, imagine, and worry that should something like this happen in the future, if you have a police officer on duty or off duty, or a good Samaritan who's carrying a weapon, and they see this, and they use deadly force to stop what they believe to be an abduction.
That's exactly right.
The headline the next day is going to read that, a police officer or a citizen shot an unarmed kid playing with their friends in the parking lot of the store,
right.
And worse than the headline will be the fact that you'll have to live with the fact that you may have shot an innocent person.
Right.
And nobody wants that to be in that position. But certainly, good people, when they see something like this happening, they're going to take action. And that's of particular concern.
Yeah, and I think most of us tend to be good Samaritans. Most people want to intervene when they see something that looks like it's not quite right, and they want to help. And whenever you have hoaxes like that, it's kind of like the story about crying wolf.
Absolutely. And you look at the incident that occurred last night, I believe, in Oklahoma, where you have a person who was in a restaurant that started shooting up the restaurant. You had a good Samaritan who used deadly force to put down that threat and to make sure that everyone else in the restaurant was safe.
Absolutely.
But if that were a hoax,
right?
If that were being done for internet sensation purposes,
that's right.
Then that would have been an even greater tragedy.
And I love that story because it's about a good guy with a good gun.
Right.
Who did the right thing. So that was actually one of the stories I was going to share today. I'm glad you brought that one up. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we talked about is what are the consequences? What, under the current law, what is it you're allowed to do? Because they've taken resources away from a legitimate case that you were working on for 24 hours.
Right.
I mean, that cost the taxpayers.
Right. And
it cost having law officers on the street keeping other people safe.
Right. And I think the issue that we run into is that, our statutes have not necessarily kept up with some of the evolutions of modern society, like social media. We've got a curse and abuse statute in Virginia. It's illegal to swear, right? It's illegal to call 911 under false pretenses. It's illegal to report a crime to police that has not occurred. And yet it's not illegal, interestingly enough, to act out a crime in public in a hazardous way. It's simply not a crime at this point. Because I think up until the advent of social media and the phenomenon of performance crimes, where people are engaging in outrageous behavior in an effort to garner social media attention, until that happened, nobody in their right mind would have ever played out a crime in public.
That's so true.
Right?
That's so true.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you see copycats. Which right. I think some of the shootings, the shootings that we have, I think some of those are copycats, kids repeating what they've seen. We don't want that to happen in Chesterfield.
You're absolutely right. And I've said this long ago with the phenomenon of school shootings. And I actually used to work in Parkland, Florida, where the Stoneman Douglas shooting occurred. And I've said this long ago, I understand the media has an obligation to report an incident, and I respect that. But you know what? Stop identifying the person who did it. Stop putting their face on TV. Stop making their name a household name. Stop making people famous for committing heinous crimes and murdering and slaughtering kids in their school. We need to stop giving them attention.
Yes.
Because when you make someone, the whole idea behind performance crime, the whole idea behind social media entertainment and becoming famous on the internet really is just about relevance and really about putting yourself out there. And so somebody that maybe is feeling like they haven't amounted to much may very well go out and do something in order to gain that attention, go out in a blaze of glory, if you will.
Wow. Well, when we come back, we're getting ready to go to a break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about possible solutions to take care of this problem because we don't want copycat crimes. We've got a legislator and we have the police chief here. We can surely figure this out with you all today. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Cut to the Chase. All right, we are back on Cut to the Chase with Senator Cheif. This is our weekly call-in radio show and town hall. It's more of a town hall, and it's great to have you, Chief Katz, who is here live in the studio today. And we have been talking about the incident that occurred at the Chesterfield Walmart. There was an abduction hoax there, and unfortunately, no one's going to face any charges, not because they're not deserving, but because you have to have a law to break before you can get charges.
That's right.
And under the current law, what could you even begin to charge them with?
Well, we considered possibly disorderly conduct. We really scoured the statute manual, really looking for what might be out there. And the fact of the matter is, even though the actions were wrong, they were dangerous, and they should be illegal, we have to operate within the confines of existing statutes. So to force a charge of, say, for disorderly conduct, for example, would really be akin to punching a square peg through a round hole.
Right.
And that's not our role. We should not be charging out of emotion. We should be charging out of legal precedent, out of what is legislatively appropriate. And if the law does not yet exist to cover this, we need to make sure it does. We need to make sure it does fairly quickly because of particular concern is if there's a copycat crime. And of course, I hope people will hear the warning that, engaging in this type of conduct could be very dangerous. And you may not necessarily get charged right now, but something could happen to you.
Well, I know of a legislator that is willing to sponsor a bill for you.
That's incredible.
I have one connection anyway. So I'm happy to work on this bill with you. We were talking on the break about getting input from our listeners today as to what you think that bill should look like. So if we want to deter these hoaxes from happening again, what are we going to do? Do we want to make it like a $500 fine? I'm just curious. So if someone pulls a fire alarm,
right,
and it's false, what is the penalty for that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know in Virginia. I'm still learning these things. I can tell you in Florida, that's a felony. And I imagine it probably is in Virginia as well. That's one of those nuanced type of crimes that I have not dealt with in the last couple of months. But again, it's a serious public safety concern. It is akin to crying fire in a theater.
Right.
And people will get hurt as a result of it. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to do something. So 804-454-1366. 804-454-1366. We really are looking for community input. We are going to come up with some legislation. I'm going to work with my Chesterfield colleagues, possibly Delegate Roxanne Robinson and Speaker Cox and other folks about the possibility of we can definitely introduce legislation. I like to take a piece of legislation, a bill on the Senate side, and I'll introduce it in the House too, so that when we get to crossover, we know the destiny of our bill. Mm-hmm. And we can correct any issues that we had in either house. And that was a successful strategy this year. I had 11 bills that passed and the governor signing those into law. So, I think it's important that we address this issue. So if you have any ideas, definitely give us a call here in the studio today. So it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Chief Katz, Chesterfield County Police. And he is here and doing a great job. And you also had a story yesterday y'all just released some video footage from there was. Tell us what was going on yesterday. You were in the news, and I was walking through my den, and I saw you were on TV, and I wasn't able to watch the whole show. Do you remember what it was?
Well, we had an incident where we had an officer who was driving down the street, and he was flagged down by a school bus driver who said that there was a car going by, that the occupants of the car were waving and yelling at the students, and they felt that was an unusual act, and they asked the officer to check in on that. So the officer activated their emergency lights and attempted to stop the car, and took about a block for the vehicle to stop. The driver pulled into his driveway, and then the officer made contact with the driver, who did not have his driver's license on him. He was trying to collect some information from him. At first, the driver wanted to get out of the car. Then the driver refused to get out of the car when the officer was asking the driver at that point to get out because he was being uncooperative. And it ended up turning into a violent confrontation. Unfortunately, there was some cell phone video that was put out, but it captured about 1 minute of the incident. And there was a lot of public outrage as a result of that, unfortunately. But, when you look at something, you look at an interaction that takes 20 minutes and you see 1 minute of it, and it's strategically published 1 minute of it. Unfortunately, it sparks an outrage. It really has gone nationwide. But the fact of the matter is, we've reviewed the body camera footage from the incident.
Getting ready to ask. Yep. Body cam footage.
There sure is. There's body camera footage. We reviewed it. We reviewed it with members of the media as well. We had all the reporters that covered this. We shared that with them. We'll share it with this young man who we ended up arresting. We'll share it with anybody who wants to see it. But as our policy has been, we are retaining possession of that body camera footage. Because it is in my belief that when you put body camera footage out into the public domain, it is subject to being altered and changed.
That's right.
And we live in a time right now where propaganda and look at this, we're just talking about a hoax crime,
exactly.
right?
That's exactly right.
Propaganda, social media hits, things of that nature. These, I think, tear at the very fabric of our trust in law enforcement, and we don't need propaganda. This is a difficult job. The men and women that do this job, I think, are courageous and noble. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. And there are people that wear a uniform in this country that shouldn't. But as I've always said, whether people believe it or not, there's nobody that dislikes a bad cop as much as a good one, because we all wear the same uniform.
Mm-hmm. Very well said.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Katz, we're glad you're here. And also, we have an update about body cameras. This has been an issue that's also been in the media. Before the General Assembly, there was a budget amendment that was put in by Senator Normant, and we've been working together. Chief Katz's office, Commonwealth's Attorney's office, my office, the Board of Supervisors, and we're going to hopefully have a positive solution going forward. It looks like we've got a change in the amendment that was introduced, and I think Senator Normant has altered that to create more collaboration. There's not going to be a mandate of 50 to 1, 50 body cams and having to hire one person to review that. I think, I'm glad to see that there's some movement and cooperation in that area to find some type of compromise so that we're protecting the public safety. We don't want to put a mandate in that would cause the county not to be able to pay for the services and have to revoke the body cams, because I think, would you agree, they're really great?
They're wonderful.
Yeah.
When I was a rookie police officer, I carried a micro cassette recorder on my gun belt, and I did so because I wanted evidence of my interactions with members of the public. And as often as it is that we are videotaped, people should know that we're videotaping too.
Absolutely.
And we, unlike people that want to post things for propaganda purposes, we retain the entire record of the incident. And then we will evaluate it for professional standards purposes and use it as evidence in court when it comes time for criminal investigative purposes.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming on Cut to the Chase today. It's been great having you.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed being here.
Very good. So we're going to have Chesterfield County's police chief, Jeff Katz. Again, I know not to be confused with the radio show, and they're not the same people.
I'm sure he has a much better radio voice than I do.
No, I've actually never met the other Jeff Katz, but But anyway, we really do appreciate your time today. He came here on very short notice. Basically, I got a text from Melissa Hippolyte with Channel 6, and she was asking for solutions. And so I appreciate you allowing me to reach out to you and coming on such short notice. So
absolutely. Like I said, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
That's what we say in our office, too.
Yep.
People have no idea. Whenever there's an emergency, we have to go and figure it out and everything. Well, I hope you have a happy Memorial Day. Well, you would never say Happy Memorial Day.
Yes.
Because it's a somber occasion. But enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. And do you have any plans this weekend?
I'm thinking about maybe going up to Washington, D.C. and visiting Arlington National Cemetery. I have not done that on Memorial Day. I think that would be a beautiful experience. So looking forward to possibly doing that. Very
good. And I'll be in Amelia. So if y'all come to the ceremony from 8 to 10 at the Amelia Cemetery. Anyway, we'll talk about that more when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Cut to the Chase.
Thank you.
Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things.
Well, welcome back to Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. The number here is 804-454-1366. And we're on AM 820 and FM 97.7. So anyway, we are back. This hour, we are going to talk about what exactly is going to happen on Tuesday. A lot of people, if you remember last week, I told you that last Tuesday was kind of like D-Day. And we had no idea what would happen with Medicaid expansion. Last week, there was a threat, I guess, from the minority leader, Dick Saslaw, that he was going to put forth a nuclear option that would basically discharge the House budget from the Senate Finance Committee, not allowing the Senate Finance Committee to actually work on our state budget and allow the Senate to take a look at it and make amendments to that bill. And there was very much concern that that's what was going to happen, and then they would have the 21 votes needed to actually pass Medicaid in Virginia. And so we put it off for a week. Virginia was safe for yet another week of no Medicaid expansion. And we're back this coming Tuesday. The Senate Finance Committee is going to be meeting at noon, and then we're meeting as a full Senate at 3:00. So if you want to come to the General Assembly, sit in the gallery, I invite you to do so. I'll even introduce you during the morning hour. But what I wanted to talk to you about is a lot of people are saying, why didn't you pass a budget? What happened? Why didn't you get your work done? And I would say to that, the Senate has gotten their work done. We passed a fiscally responsible budget based on the revenues that we knew were coming into the state. We did not have Medicaid expansion, nor did we have a hospital tax in the Senate budget like the House bill does and the governor's bill does. We were very responsible. And so the Senate did their work, but it was rejected by the governor and the House. So I like to emphasize that. So we had to start over again because once our regular session is over and we adjourn, and then we pick up with the special session and we convene, we start over with a new budget. And so what happened last Tuesday, actually it was Monday night at about 7:00, the senators all received about 300 pages of amendments from Senator Hanger. And so this is not D.C., and we want to read the amendments. And there were 300 pages of them. And I know one of my colleagues, Senator Bill DeSteff, God bless him, stayed up all night and read most of it. He said he got 3 hours of sleep, and he was still only halfway through. Many of the legislators did not even see the email that was sent at the very last minute. And so we wanted more time to review those budget amendments. Let me just assure you, if there is a budget with Medicaid in it, I will not sign off on that. If there's a tax increase, I will not sign off on it. If there's a hospital tax, I'm not going to sign off on it. So while I'm reviewing and looking at these budget amendments, the way it works is if you put in a budget amendment and it's approved, you have to vote for the budget. So I'm not putting forth any amendments. I don't want to touch this bad bill. that has Medicaid in it, that has the hospital tax in it. I supported the Senate budget. I did find out after we passed it that it had a slush fund, a multi-million-dollar slush fund for Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. And in fact, we had Victoria Cobb. She broke the story here on the air here with me, and we are working diligently to try to remove that out of the budget. And this budget, and it has what's called a special program with the sole purpose of disseminating free birth control to low-income women, specifically long-acting reversible contraceptives, that's short for LARCs. And the initial Senate budget included $10.8 million, and the House included $6 million. And the direct impact of this program will be to create a backdoor slush fund flowing directly to Planned Parenthood and other abortion facilities in Virginia. While purporting to help women, the implications of this program are deeply troubling, according to the Family Foundation. And, I don't have any issues with birth control. I mean, I don't think that's the issue. The question is, why should the government be in the business of paying for birth control? That is not a core function of government. Creating programs to provide taxpayer-funded birth control is not a proper function of government. You need to purchase that on your own, okay? So there are, in a time whenever, we're looking at our state budget and we have so many other higher priorities, why would you create a program for free birth control, which are already available through other programs, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. So, and I'm thinking, we've got some great pregnancy resource centers who work with the same population of women. Why don't we create a grant program to help them, to offer support, encouragement, and resources? But instead, we're going to spend $3 million in the first year, and then the second year, another $3 million using TANF block grant funds. And it's for patients whose income is below 250% of the federal poverty level. And it provides the provider gets reimbursed for the insertion and removal of LARCs at Medicaid rates. I just don't think this is the role of government, and so I'm fighting to take that out of there. And I know Senator Dick Black is introducing an amendment, and that amendment I will support. Stay tuned. We will be right back with Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase. Welcome back to Cut to the Chase with State Senator Amanda Chase. This is our weekly call-in town hall and radio show, and I invite you to call in. The number here is 804-454-1366, 804-454-1366. Memorial Day weekend is coming up this week, and I want to invite you to a couple of events. Actually, this evening, I will be at Crystal Lake Park Pavilion in Hopewell. And Delegate Riley Ingram, myself, and candidate for Republican nominee for the 4th Congressional District, Ryan McAdams, we will all be tonight at an event honoring our veterans. And again, that's at from 6:30 to 8 o'clock tonight at Crystal Lake Park Pavilion. And also on Monday, I will once again be at the Amelia Day ceremony. It's an annual Memorial Day event with myself and Governor Ralph Northam. It's from 10 to noon, and it's at the Virginia Veterans Cemetery in Amelia County. It's on Pridesville Road. And if you're looking for something to do with your family, to show your respect to our veterans, Memorial Day is a little bit different. We'll talk about that, but we do remember our veterans on Memorial Day as well, and honor them in our ceremony. But Memorial Day is a somber day. Memorial Day is an American holiday that it's observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. And this was originally known as Decoration Day, and it originated in the years following the Civil War and became an official federal holiday back in 1971. And it's not to be confused with Veterans Day, where we celebrate those that are alive and living. And I really like history, and I thought I would find some interesting facts about Memorial Day, things that you may not know about Memorial Day. And the holiday's founder, you may not know this, has been had a long and distinguished career. General John A. Logan. He was the commander-in-chief of the Union Veterans Group, known as the Grand Army of the Republic. And he was the one that issued a decree in May of 1868 that May the 30th should become a nationwide day of commemoration for more than 620,000 soldiers who were killed in the recently ended Civil War. And maybe you have heard of Logan Circle if you've been to D.C., and if you're like me, I don't go there very often. I go there once a year to visit my good friend, Congressman Dave Bratt. But other than that, I stay away from the swamp. I'm allergic. I don't like going there. But if you are there, you probably know about Logan Circle. And it is a traffic circle, a neighborhood, and a historic district in the northwest quadrant of Washington, D.C. And it's actually named after the general who was the founder of Memorial Day. Did you know that? I wonder if you know that. But anyway. So today, Washington, D.C.'s Logan Circle and several townships across the country are named in honor of this champion of veterans and those killed in battle. On Decoration Day, as Logan dubbed it, Americans should lay flowers and decorate the graves of the war dead, whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. And according to the legend, General Logan chose May the 30th because it was a rare day that didn't fall on the anniversary of a Civil War battle, though some historians believe the date was selected to ensure the flowers across the country would be in full bloom. So after the war, General Logan, who had served as a U.S. congressman before resigning to rejoin the Army, returned to his political career. He eventually served in both the House and the Senate and was the unsuccessful Republican candidate for vice president in 1884. So that's a little bit of interesting information about the founder of Memorial Day and something that you may not know. Something else that I thought was interesting is that Memorial Day did not become a federal holiday until 1971. And it was originally called Decoration Day, as we said earlier. And in the first year, more than 27 states held some sort of ceremony with more than 5,000 people in attendance at a ceremony in Arlington National Cemetery. And by 1890, every former state of the Union had adopted it as an official holiday. But for more than 50 years, the holiday was actually used to commemorate those killed just in the Civil War and not in any other American conflict. It wasn't until America's entry into World War I that the tradition was expanded to include those that were killed in all wars. And Memorial Day was not officially recognized nationwide until the 1970s, with America at that point deeply embroiled in the Vietnam War. So it was the Uniformed Monday Holiday Act of 1968 that went into effect, moving Memorial Day from its traditional observance on May the 30th, regardless of the day of the week, to a set day, which is the last Monday in May. So I thought you would find that a little bit interesting. Okay, so I hope you guys will come out and celebrate. I guess I shouldn't say celebrate, commemorate and remember those who have died in the line of duty, those who have served our country. And it's so important to remember and to teach your children. I've already instructed and informed my family that they will be attending that ceremony with me. I just think it's so important that we show our respects, pay our respects to those, the saying it says, there were some that gave, what is it? There are some that gave, some gave all gave some gave all. I'll get it. That's it. All gave some gave all. I knew I would get it. That's what happens when I do things off the cuff like that. But anyway, I hope you will do something to teach your children the importance of that very important day to remember those who have died and served. This is actually also EMT Week in the United States, in which we honor those who are EMS workers. It's EMS Week, and it's on Sunday. The Forest View Rescue Squad was awarded the EMS Agency of the Year in the Old Dominion EMS Alliance. It's short for ADEMSA is short for that, and it's the region Central Virginia area, which includes 19 counties. And so we want to congratulate our Forest View Rescue Squad for achieving that high honor of EMS Agency of the Year. So if you know someone who is an EMT or works in EMS, make sure you thank them for their service, because this is also EMT Week. And actually earlier today, I was at Chippenham Hospital at an event with the CEO there, Greg Lowe, and enjoyed spending time with our first responders and enjoying some crayfish, if you've ever eaten those before, and shrimp. And they had a nice spread there. And it was a good time. So we wanted to thank our EMS workers. So thank you. My daughter's an EMT, so I'll have to give her a call later, right? So let's move forward. The next thing that I want to talk about, I like when I'm looking forward to the calendar for the next week, I noticed that Tuesday is Patrick Henry's birthday. Patrick Henry, one of the great founding fathers of our country. So remember that Tuesday is Patrick Henry's birthday, and it's interesting that the General Assembly is going to be meeting to potentially pass Medicaid expansion on Patrick Henry's birthday. I think he would roll over in his grave if he knew what we were doing. Give me liberty or give me death. And so we're going to be meeting again this coming Tuesday at the General Assembly in Richmond. And of course, I will be advocating to have fiscal restraint and not pass Medicaid with Medicaid expansion in it. And, we look at the other states that have expanded Medicaid and the challenges. What are those challenges? Well, the first challenge is that more people sign up for this program than they anticipate. It happens in every state. There's not a state that this has not happened in. The second thing that happens is the average cost per person has been grossly underestimated, almost double what they predict it's going to be. And, we were talking about the opioid and heroin crisis that's occurred in our state. And did you know that those states that actually expand Medicaid, the opioid crisis goes through the roof? So that's a challenge there. So it's not all what people think. You're led by the media and the far left to believe that expanding Medicaid is the compassionate thing to do to give health care to people that can't afford it. That's not what this is. And so we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. But I think it's important for you to know the rest of the story when it comes to Medicaid expansion. It is fiscally could potentially devastate the state of Virginia, increase your taxes, because that burden, basically what you're doing is you are taking a state budget and you're increasing the amount of money the amount of our state budget that is going to go toward Medicaid. It's currently at almost 25%. Even before we've expanded Medicaid, it's gone from 3% of our budget to almost 25% of our budget, and that's before expanding Medicaid. And the federal dollars they say we're going to get that we're leaving on the table, y'all, that's debt. It's not money we're leaving on the table, it's debt. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Cut to the Chase. Welcome back to the final segment of Cut to the Chase with State Senator Amanda Chase. And we've talked about a number of things. We had Chief Katz here, police chief for Chesterfield County, in the studio today, talking about the unfortunate hoax that took place on Sunday evening. And we're going to work on legislation to take care of that. Not that I feel like we have to have a law for everything, but there is apparently a need for a law that's not on the books, so we need to fix that. We also talked about Medicaid expansion, and of course I will stand firm about not expanding Medicaid. We're also going to be celebrating Memorial Day weekend, not celebrating, right? But remembering and commemorating. So don't be celebrating. Okay, so the final story that I wanted to talk today about is the civilian who shoots and kills a suspect who opened fire at an Oklahoma City restaurant. The suspect in the shooting that injured multiple people in an Oklahoma City restaurant died. And after he was shot by an armed civilian. And, once again, I was at the gun show this past weekend. Time flies. We go to so many events, it's hard to remember. But this past weekend, I actually went to one of the gun shows, and I bought a revolver, and it is not easy to get a gun. You have to go through a background check. It takes 20 to 30 minutes. You have to answer a lot of questions about mental health issues and other types of things. If you look at the people that are getting these guns, they're taking them from law-abiding citizens. And it is the law-abiding citizens that have the concealed weapon permits and have the ability to legally carry. They're the law-abiding citizens. It's the bad guys that get a gun. And they steal them from the law-abiding citizens that we worry about and that we're concerned about. But isn't it nice whenever we have a story like this, as tragic as it is, someone getting shot, it could have been worse. I mean, thankfully you had someone there that was simply an armed civilian that was able to be there before the police could arrive and keep the situation from getting worse. It could have been much, much worse there at Louis Grill and Bar. And so I think it's important that we as Virginians decide that we need to, instead of being afraid of guns, that we need to learn how to use them. It's our Second Amendment right. It should be just as important to you as your First Amendment right. And there are different classes that you can take that will teach you how to use a gun. There's shooting ranges you can go to, and I'm going through that process as well. And get your concealed weapon permit. In the state of Virginia, you can actually open carry, and that is legal. And you need to know the law, and you need to know where you can carry and where you cannot carry, and follow the law. But it is our responsibility to protect ourselves. And I know a lot of you out there like to depend on our wonderful Chesterfield County Police and Amelia, wherever you're from. But, they have limited resources. And what if there's a catastrophic event? What if there's a catastrophic event and they can't get there soon enough? Because unfortunately it happens. You need to be able to protect yourself. So I encourage you, get your concealed weapon permit, learn how to be an armed civilian that is knowledgeable. So we have Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase every Friday. It's a town hall. You can call in, express your opinions, give me your thoughts, and we'll give you the latest. Next week will be rather exciting. On Patrick Henry's birthday, we'll figure out what happens on Tuesday with this whole thing with Medicaid expansion. So you'll definitely want to tune in next Friday night from 6 to 7 p.m. Also mark your calendar for Tuesday, June the 12th, because that's going to be primary day in Virginia. You will want to go to the polls on Election Day between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. at your regular polling location, and we'll talk more about that next week. Stay tuned. Cut to the Chase with Senator Chase next Friday. Have a great week.